Hollywood leftists, these are the people who are supposed to love them, who are ripping these women to shreds. It's beautiful. It wasn't for commercial gain. It wasn't to promote Amazon. It wasn't with some woman with her tits hanging out who needed a little extra attention. Okay, so that's just first. There was nothing frivolous. I am like Alan Shepard, and I am inspirational.
Katy Perry is in a complete meltdown after Megyn Kelly, the most savage woman on TV, casually shredded her space princess fantasy live on air.
This utterly vacuous experience from which they learned absolutely nothing.
It wasn't just a clapback, it was a full demolition job, and honestly, long overdue. Because let's be real, acting like an 11-minute celebrity float in space is a feminist revolution? Sit down.
We weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
There, it's dark. It's like death.
And I'm so proud of us. I really am proud of me.
Flowers for me, I believe, are like God's laughter.
And if you don't know about the whole story, here you go. So, our pretty little Katy Perry decided to slap on a spacesuit, probably designer, let's be real, and hop on Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket for what was marketed as this empowering, groundbreaking, history-making moment for womankind. At least that's the headline version. Served up with a side of glitter and hashtags like #GirlPower from space.
From Hollywood leftists, not just people like you and me, but like Hollywood leftists. These are the people who are supposed to love them, who are ripping these women to shreds. It's beautiful.
The actual trip was just 10 whole minutes of floating around like luxury luggage in a capsule, snapping a few selfies, talking about daisies, and then landing back on Earth with the confidence of someone who thinks they just rewrote NASA's legacy. And somehow, we were all supposed to clap like seals because a bunch of celebrities floated slightly above the sky.
No one called that a
You're Alan
ride.
Shepard.
It was called a flight. It was called a journey, because a ride implies that it's something frivolous or something that's lighthearted. There was nothing frivolous about what we did. And the machine that we were on, and what it took for the people to get that machine up and running.
But shocker, nobody clapped. Nobody bought the sparkle wrap nonsense. It wasn't an achievement. It wasn't even a solid Instagram moment. It was a PR stunt so painfully hollow, it practically echoed in orbit. People weren't inspired, they were irritated.
So, I'm very disappointed and very saddened by it. And I also say this, what it's doing to inspire other women and young girls, please don't ignore that.
The whole thing screamed, let's pretend we're astronauts for content, while real women in STEM just sat there, blinking in confusion. Like, wow, congrats on reaching the bare minimum of the Kármán line. Meanwhile, actual female astronauts are out here doing spacewalks and real research, not hosting a zero-gravity talk show about how love feels different in orbit. And the roasts? Oh, the roasts were delicious. Megyn Kelly, Joe Rogan, and even Martha Stewart came in like the Avengers of sarcasm, except way more ruthless.
I brought a daisy because I have so much love for my daughter Daisy, and I have so much love for Mother Earth.
It just says to me, if I can do this, I was telling these guys, I might even now get my ears pierced. I've never gotten my ears pierced.
Joe Rogan didn't even pretend to take it seriously. He sat there with Tim Dillon, side-eyeing Katy's Daisy speech like it was a drunk poetry slam at Coachella. Her big cosmic revelation? That she felt a lot of love inside her and brought a daisy to space because, symbolism or whatever. Joe didn't even need to yell. He just blinked and asked, so what were her findings? Like a disappointed science teacher grading a blank test.
I've had so many women and young girls reach out to me, and men too, by the way, that say, wow, I never thought I could do that, but I see you doing it at this stage of my life. Who would have thunk it? Not me. And how inspired they are.
And then he mocked the flower. The poor Daisy got roasted harder than her music career post-2013. And let's not even start on her manicured nails. Yes, Katy Perry went to space with acrylics on. Because obviously...
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space.
Then enters Megyn Kelly, who took one look at this floating circus and said, absolutely not. Her target? That cringe quote from Lauren Sanchez, "We're all in this together." Ma'am, no we're not. Megyn dragged that line like it owed her money.
There's so much to go over. First of all, Alan Shepard walked on the moon, Gail. You did not fucking walk on the moon.
Because while they were floating in Bezos' shiny space dong, regular folks were trying to figure out how to afford eggs and gas in the same week. Megyn called out the delusion loud and clear, saying it was tone-deaf, arrogant, and about as relatable as a yacht regatta.
Please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same
An astronaut
trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day, pretty much.
And honestly, she nailed it. Because pretending your luxury trip is a universal moment of sisterhood is like throwing a Dior bag into a crowd and calling it charity.
This is the Democratic Party, right? It's all acting. It's all celebrity. It's all ostentatious wealth.
And just when you thought the roast train had reached its last stop, boom. Martha Stewart came out of nowhere with her passive-aggressive missile. She posted and then deleted a savage reminder that she did zero gravity back in 2007. No fanfare, no TED Talk, just a float and a flex.
Like, that's the reason it was exciting. It wasn't for commercial gain. It wasn't to promote Amazon. It wasn't with some woman with her tits hanging out who needed a little extra attention. Okay, so that's just first.
While Katy was literally kissing the ground like she just returned from a Mars mission, Martha reminded everyone that not only had it been done before, it had been done better, quieter, and with way less cringe. Her post didn't need fireworks, just a calm, icy mic drop. And that deleted post? Probably deleted because it burned too clean.
Got it? 1, 2, 3, taking up space!
Flynn, I got with her Daisy.
I got you, Flynn.
Gotcha.
Stuffed animals.
But here's the real kicker. How hard they tried to sell this as some feminist milestone. They acted like Katy's boots hit lunar soil, like they were the first women to ever exist in a spaceship. Meanwhile, real women, actual astronauts, have been out here making scientific history for decades.
Moon! You guys, I will have to tell you, look at the moon. That's amazing.
Wow, look at the blue line.
Oh my God.
No glam squad, no designer jumpsuits, just brains, bravery, and way more hours in orbit than any of these space tourists could handle. But sure, let's pretend this was a revolution and not just a glorified influencer collab with Blue Origin.
Whoa. That's amazing.
I can't. I can't get over.
The problem wasn't that Katy flew. It's that she tried to turn it into a moment, a movement, a message. She acted like floating for 10 minutes in a capsule meant she'd unlocked some universal truth about femininity and the cosmos. When really, she just reminded everyone how far removed celebrities are from the rest of us. It didn't feel empowering. It felt like a reminder that there are two worlds, the one we live in and the one where a daisy becomes a space relic.
I am like Alan Shepard, and I am inspirational. I'm proud of me. Good for me. That's the messaging coming back.
Right? It's so amazing. Like, they went to see space.
It wasn't just the rocket that exploded, it was the narrative. The one where Katy Perry and her orbiting entourage were meant to represent some grand vision of feminist progress. But for every glossy headline and staged photo, there were 10 eye rolls from the public and a growing chorus from women, actual women, who saw right through it.
They admired the universe, and what they were expecting was for us to admire the fact that they were rich enough and famous enough to have been granted this utterly vacuous experience from which they learned absolutely nothing.
Jessica Chastain didn't say much herself, but what she did was louder than any statement Katy gave post-launch. On March 30th, she reposted an op-ed from The Guardian that flat out called the Blue Origin stunt the utter defeat of American feminism. No hashtags, no fluff, just a link. And that link did what Perry's floating flower metaphors couldn't. It hit home.
I mean, this was exactly what Kamala Harris's entire campaign was like. Look at us, we're very wealthy. Don't we look great? Admire us.
The piece Chastain shared wasn't just a critique, it was a scalpel. It dismantled the mission's supposed message of empowerment and held up a mirror to what it really was. A glam-fueled influencer launch, complete with lashes, lipstick, and legacy connections. Not one mention of science, not one technical contribution.
Because they're not friends with Jeff Bezos, right? Like, the whole thing is a farce. Their message for women was take up space, like us. Like, the reception they got was like the right corrective. You guys are taking up too much space already. Like, what are you offering? Where is the service?
Just a parade of styled women treating a billionaire's rocket like a red carpet. The author didn't just take issue with the aesthetics, though those were front and center. She highlighted how obsession with flawless beauty in a space setting sent the message that women still need to look picture perfect, even 55 miles above the ground. A mission supposedly meant to make space for women ended up reinforcing the same tired expectation. Look beautiful, smile, and let the rich men drive.
Where is the sense that we owe something to the society?
And the irony didn't end there. Erin Molan, in her viral commentary, delivered the kind of commentary that sliced through the glam with clinical precision. She wasn't reacting as a journalist. She was reacting as a mom. Molan described showing footage of the space mission to her 6-year-old daughter.
Vis-a-vis the universe, like the most banal, like totally, like really you went to space, that's what you came back with?
The little girl had 2 questions. First, are they astronauts? Molan's answer was simple. No. Second, why is their hair out and so pretty? A child, not yet old enough to care about media narratives or gender politics, still recognized what this really was. A photo shoot pretending to be a spacewalk. That wasn't confusion. That was instinct. Even a 6-year-old could tell that this wasn't about space. It was about staging.
They have nothing in their lives that they consider to be of value. And what's amazing to me is that it seems like Hollywood knows what time it is, even if these 5 women didn't, right? Like, you really did see people coming out and being like, what the heck is this?
While Perry claimed to feel connected to love after her 10-minute float, no one could figure out what that even meant. Her commentary, peppered with cosmic buzzwords and vague emotions, read more like a Goop product description than a post-space debrief. There was no insight, no science, no curiosity. Just aesthetic spirituality, tied up in a bow of pink blush and commercial feminism. The same kind of branding that makes activism a brand partnership, and empowerment a catchphrase on a hoodie.
What are you giving back? What they are giving back is their celebrity, the right for us to admire them. Like, it is so despicable. It's not just women, although of course, like, women do this so much worse because we always expect to be admired, you know?
But things got uglier, literally and figuratively, once the fuel came into question. Katy Perry has, for years, positioned herself as an environmentalist. She's spoken about the climate crisis. She's aligned with green initiatives. She even released a Woman's World track that nodded towards social responsibility. And then she boarded a Blue Origin rocket fueled by liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, launching into suborbital space for 10 minutes, just long enough for Instagram highlights, but long enough to leave a trail of carbon hypocrisy in the atmosphere.
I'm still stuck on the fact that Gayle King actually used the word astronauts in reference to, like, we're just like an actual astronaut. You are there on a vanity project of Jeff Bezos and his fiance.
The environmental cost wasn't speculative. It was quantifiable. PR experts noted that her space joyride burned a swimming pool's worth of fuel, according to estimates made by aerospace analysts after similar Blue Origin launches. All for what? A daisy? A declaration about making space? Climate-conscious messaging went straight out to the hatch the moment that booster ignited,
You've done absolutely nothing to deserve this. You're sitting next to Katy Perry. And if you don't want people to think it's frivolous, Gail, then don't have the fucking Kardashians craft side as you take off, and Oprah.
And then there was the shape of the rocket. No one could ignore it. Erin Molan called it out plainly in her segment. A giant phallic symbol, flying billionaires and their plus ones into the sky to remind us all who's still in charge.
I mean, it's, by the way,
they're going for 11 minutes. They're going for 11 minutes. They're going up. I think they're going to float around a little and then come back.
So you're on, like, Magic Mountain. Like, you're just going up and
Space Mountain. More appropriately, Space Mountain.
Space Mountain.
The symbolism wasn't lost on the public or the critics. While the capsule technically separated from the booster, allowing the passengers to drift momentarily in zero gravity, the metaphor didn't. It stuck. The richest man on Earth sending a group of elite women into space on a rocket that looked like a novelty bachelor party gag. This wasn't science fiction. It was satire.
I know this is probably obnoxious, but it's so much money to go to space.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And there's a lot of people who can't even afford eggs.
And the satire wrote itself. This wasn't a mission to Mars. It was a metaphorical nosedive into elitism, aesthetic activism, and environmental hypocrisy. Perry wanted to soar, but what people saw was a celebrity burn jet fuel while talking about healing the planet. What they heard was a millionaire float for 10 minutes, then emerge as a self-proclaimed prophet of love. What they remembered wasn't progress, it was perfume-scented nonsense delivered from the edge of space, wrapped in flawless contour and staged vulnerability.
What are they going to do up there that has made it better for us down here?
Absolutely nothing.
There's a reason people are calling this mission space tourism and not space travel. It wasn't a mission, and nobody on board was an astronaut, at least not in any meaningful sense of the word. Real astronauts spend years training through NASA, often with military or aeronautics backgrounds. They learn to handle catastrophic systems failures, navigate orbital mechanics, and survive long-term isolation in low Earth orbit. These are men and women who pass psych evaluations, endure G-force simulations, and train for years, not 2 days, with a checklist and a camera crew.
That's end time shit. Like, this is beyond parody. Saying that you care about Mother Earth and it's about Mother Earth and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet.
But when Katy Perry and Lauren Sanchez climbed aboard Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin capsule for a suborbital 10-minute float, none of that existed. According to Blue Origin's official website, the training involves a brief day and a half of mission prep, which includes learning how to strap yourself in and press the mic button to speak to mission control. No scientific experiments, no research goals, no payload deployment, just glorified buckle training and a personal window seat above the Kármán line.
She raises a good point. Where's Greta Thunberg? Where's her protest on how many carbon emissions we had to suffer just so that Gail could be proud of herself?
And yet, Lauren Sanchez still had the audacity to compare the trip to Alan Shepard's historic spaceflight in 1961. Shepard was America's first man in space, a naval aviator, and a Mercury 7 astronaut. He trained for 3 years before making that flight, which involved unknown risks and had never been done by an American before. Sanchez went on national television and essentially said, "We did what Alan Shepard did," and somehow kept a straight face. The backlash was instant.
Katy Perry kissing the ground. Honestly, truly, she was acting like she got back from Apollo 13. Kissing the ground, and she captioned it, $1 billion bought some good memes, I guess.
Critics from all sides, including ex-astronauts and aerospace professionals, labeled the comparison a cosmic insult. Shepard risked his life. Katy risked a makeup smudge. Shepard entered history books. Katy entered the meme cycle. The public wasn't fooled, and neither was the press. Headlines called it a photo op in orbit. Commentators branded the stunt as stolen valor, not just in spirit, but in language. Because calling yourself an astronaut when you're a guest passenger on a billionaire's joyride, that's not poetic. That's offensive to those who've died doing the real thing.
Do you want to go to space? So I'm going to space, and Thank you to everyone who got me here, and I'll see you guys in space.
Even the timeline exposed the lie. Just before the launch, Blue Origin officials publicly confirmed that the entire crew had undergone only 2 days of preparation. And when they came back, there were no scientific findings, no new data, just press clips, emotional rants about daisies and love, and a whole lot of Instagram-friendly smiles. This wasn't a space program. It was a floating luxury spa with better views.
That's what gets them upset. That's why Gail did that little, we're inspirational, and we're astronauts, I am Alan Shepard video.
And once the internet got a hold of it, the satire came faster than gravity. One quote in particular became the blueprint for all the mockery. Katy Perry's infamous claim, "We weren't taking space, we were making space." The line was so hollow, so PR optimized, it practically begged for a parody. Within 48 hours, Twitter turned it into a running joke, with users replacing space with everything from sponsorships to seats at the Met Gala. If they were aiming for a legacy, they got one, just not the kind you frame in a museum.
I think that this is kind of a turning point, Megyn. Like, I feel like the vibe is shifting. Like, a year ago, you would not have seen the left, like, openly admitting, like, this is not cool anymore. It's almost like these women in their space mission admitted a little bit too much.
Amy Schumer didn't miss the opportunity to pile on. In a viral sketch that aired the following week, she parodied the entire launch by pretending she was invited to space via a casual text message. "I was on the subway," she said, deadpan, and they were like, "You want to go to space?" Her version of zero training, zero relevance hit the exact nerve Perry had accidentally exposed. The sketch, which aired on her YouTube channel and was reposted by The Cut on April 9th, racked up over 2 million views in less than 72 hours.
You know, they went from being like the apotheosis of what the leftist elites and Hollywood and entertainment represents to just like exposing it a little bit too much. Like, if the message had been like slightly better, nobody would have come out against it. But now it's very interesting to see the cracks.
It wasn't just comedians either. Perry herself became meme fodder. A cautionary tale for every celebrity who confuses visibility with value. Her trip, her quotes, her self-important tone, none of it inspired. It annoyed. She didn't come back a hero. She came back a walking meme, the symbol of everything the public is tired of. Performative activism, billionaire worship, and tone-deaf entitlement dressed in pastel designer suits.
They realize that they've lost the country. Nobody's going to see their movies. Nobody's watching their TV shows. There's no purchase for that ostentatious, liberal, vacuous, empty culture anymore.
And it wasn't even her first time being tone deaf. Perry's woke brand had already worn thin before she ever buckled into a rocket. But this mission solidified it. She tried to rebrand herself as a feminist icon in zero gravity, and instead became a punchline in every group chat, late night joke, and Reddit thread titled, "Rich People Doing Rich People Things." The only space she made was the one between the audience and her public credibility.
We were in full-on woke-lash, and people wanted to return to substance and to unifying messages and to actual entertainment, actual culture that has real meaning for people.
The backlash had nothing to do with gender or ambition. It had everything to do with context. You don't get to skip the grind and then wear the badge. You don't get to reduce decades of human achievement to 10 floating minutes and an emotional quote. And you certainly don't get to call yourself an astronaut when the most difficult thing you did was probably board the rocket without smudging your eyeliner.
Where we revere our astronauts, our actual astronauts, who actually do put themselves in harm's way in order to forge new frontiers.
By April 2020, Katy Perry had done the unthinkable. She managed to burn through her pop star credibility, feminist branding, and eco-conscious PR in one 10-minute joyride above Earth's surface. The backlash wasn't just brutal, it was structural, with PR insiders openly discussing what used to be whispered in back rooms. This might actually be the beginning of her career's extinction arc.
The backlash against Katy Perry is not ending, with both Joe Rogan and Martha Stewart chiming in over the weekend, along with PR experts who are claiming the singer may face career extinction.
Andy Signore, founder of Popcorn Planet, didn't mince words. In his breakdown posted April 3rd, he sarcastically said Katy would soon need a telescope just to see her reputation. The joke landed not just because it was sharp, but because it was backed by evidence. Katy had already been in shaky territory before her astronaut moment.
And Joe Rogan is sitting there with Tim Dillon just mocking her. She's basically a guru now. Let's watch his statements. Before we get into the PR experts and Martha Stewart, let's start with Joe.
How are you?
I'm much better now that the ladies are back from space.
Thank you for having me. What were they up there, 10 minutes?
After years of declining chart performance, she'd stirred massive controversy in 2017 for aligning with Dr. Luke despite Keisha's widely publicized abuse allegations. While Perry tried to play both sides, defending Dr. Luke's creativity while expressing vague support for Keisha, it left her looking spineless to a younger, hyper-aware audience. That fracture in trust never fully healed.
She's basically a guru now.
Yeah. What were her findings? That's my question.
Well,
what were her findings?
Well,
what did she learn?
Daisy, which is super important.
What a daisy.
In 2023, her song Woman's World was intended to be a comeback moment, a feminist anthem wrapped in neon production. Instead, it fizzled on the charts, was called tone deaf, and critics at Pitchfork and Variety labeled it performative at best. So when she launched herself into space less than a year later, burning fuel for a flower and a soundbite, the backlash had already been marinating. She wasn't starting from neutral. She was already on the defense.
They float for like 10 minutes?
At least.
And then they come down.
Let's not minimize this.
No, I know.
Let's not minimize this. For real, they did float for 10 minutes.
And this time, even her base didn't rally. Former fans, progressive columnists, and Gen Z commentators who once cheered her rainbow-hued activism during the teenage dream era were now calling her a poster child for elite irrelevance. They weren't mad she went to space. They were mad she came back with nothing but vague metaphors and an Instagram-ready grin. A rocket ride funded by Jeff Bezos, defended by glam quotes, and hyped like a political revolution, it just didn't fly. Not figuratively, anyway.
Let's celebrate female astronauts.
And because they were united.
Because a lot of men astronauts, they have to go to school.
Right.
They have to learn how to be a pilot first. Then they have to join the Air Force or the Navy. And then they get appointed by NASA.
That's right.
And then they go to space.
The term career implosion was first used publicly by PR consultant Eric Schiffer in a Business Insider feature dated April 5th, 2020. He called Katy's stunt the most expensive ego trip since Madonna's Eurovision mic failure, and said she should consider a one-year rebrand hiatus to avoid further alienating audiences. His suggestion? Disappear. Let people miss her. Hope the memes die down? Because as long as Perry kept defending the space stunt with floral metaphors and emotional word salad, she wasn't reclaiming relevance. She was feeding the fire.
Minimize this. No, the problem with that story is that she was rescued by
by Elon Musk, who
wants to expose fraud and waste.
Yes.
But this wasn't just about Perry. It was bigger. This moment lit a match under celebrity culture's rotten floorboards, and the cracks are still spreading. For years, the elite Hollywood narrative has been one of curated activism and self-centered good intentions, packaged in overpriced clothes and superficial sound bites. Katy just happened to be the one who got caught saying the quiet part out loud, while floating in zero gravity.
Fun to see somebody who has no self-awareness. Yeah. They're always the most fun.
Yeah, now the problem is they don't actually play the right clip. They play this montage and they don't know enough about what's going on there.
The outrage didn't come from conservative pundits or anonymous trolls. It came from inside the house. Celebrities like Olivia Munn, Emily Ratajkowski, and Jessica Chastain all publicly joined the chorus of criticism. Media outlets like The Guardian, Rolling Stone, and The Cut didn't run puff pieces. They ran op-eds dissecting the PR shallowness of the entire event. Even Hollywood liberals, who usually close ranks around their own, were done pretending. The woke-lash had arrived, and it wasn't subtle. And in 2024, that's the cardinal sin for celebrities: believing your own press. The culture has changed. The public doesn't want gods. They want people who can laugh at themselves, check their privilege, and read a room before hijacking a rocket. What do you think? Is Katy Perry's career officially in orbit, or has it crash landed for good? Drop your take in the comments below.